It's Friday night and it's Weekender time once more. And on this week's show, we have some epic news from Warlord Games as Blockmania hits the streets of Megacity 1. We also take a look at the deep creatures from Kings of War Armada and check out an indie that is The Bomb. On top of all of that, one lucky viewer will be in with a chance to win a GCPS versus Vermin Deadzone 3rd edition starter set. If you want to win this fantastic sci-fi skirmish prize, then you need to be a subscriber to the channel, pop a comment below, and if you can share us around as well, that really helps us out. Otherwise, sit back and relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined by Ben, John, and Lloyd.
Yo!
As we take a meander through the week's gaming news that's caught our eye.
I hope you've got extra fat this week.
Might do. You don't know. You storing up ahead of Lent starting? Is that what it is?
It was Fat Thursday yesterday. I've still got donuts left over because I like to call it Donut Day. This is a holiday I've inherited from my missus. I love it.
So, something imported then, is it? There's a specific Thursday where you need to pile the pounds on.
Ah, it's like their version of Pancake Tuesday, which is next week. And she's practicing how to make the pancakes, so I'm well sorted. Donuts and pancakes.
See, like most things in life, though, I feel it's probably best not to limit yourself to one day. Every Thursday can be Fat Thursday if you truly believe.
Very true.
So, that'd be how I'd break that one down. And now I'm feeling very hungry. Well,
stop eating, Lloyd.
Well, I'm also very fat as well, so it doesn't really. It's just bit column A, bit column B. Anyway, it's not the only thing that's happening this week, despite what Lloyd may be trying to tell you with his donutty goodness there. We've also had the first peek at Maladum.
Oh, yes.
Which is the new fantasy dungeon crawler. So, bit of a let's play. Where myself and Colin from Battle Systems ran through the first scenario in a little sort of linked campaign. So you can check the Let's Play out now. And they even have a bit of a rules preview and some sort of FAQs attached if people have been wondering whether or not it's just a fantasy version of Core Space. Mechanically, it's similar.
But it's so much more.
Yeah, well, that's what they say there, isn't it?
So for anybody who's not familiar with what they do, all this is pre-colored card terrain.
Yes.
And this comes in have they got a starter box for this then with all this in it?
They will do.
They will be when they hit Kickstarter, yeah.
They've got fantasy stuff already that's available through the Battle Systems range, but Maladum is going to be a new dungeon crawler game. So expect to see a couple more Let's Plays coming in the next month or so. In the run-up to the actual campaign launching. But yeah, if you've seen Battle Systems work before, you'll know kind of where they're at. It's interesting. It's fascinating. I like the idea behind it. I dislike my execution of plans on the tabletop. There's an awful lot of, if I do this and this, and then, I've done these in the wrong order. I shouldn't have leapt that chasm. Oh, dear. It's swing and a miss. But yeah, some interesting gameplay mechanics, and I really like the design of some of the creatures and characters that are going to be coming for Maladum as well. So worth keeping an eye out if you fancy a bit of the old fantastical. And yeah, dungeon crawlers are always fun, especially with those little things. I don't know if I'd be plucking them apart every time. I think whole sections would just get glued together and put in a box, thus defeating the whole point.
Very useful
flat
boxes.
Pack. Yeah. But that's where I'm at with life in general. I dislike having to do things more than once. I've put this together once.
Does it still have to opening the chests to find out what's inside them?
Oh yeah, not just chests, pushing the lids off coffins and sarcophagi and all sorts.
Are you playing together or against each other?
Technically, it's co-op / solo. And then there's AI mechanics for the beasties. Although when we were playing, to make life easier, and because he was explaining, Colin just moved all the bad guys and stuff and rolled the dice for them. So it felt like I was playing against him. Although he kept telling me it was co-op. And really, he was just doing that. But I feel like he was just giving me the equivalent of a thunder punch to the throat, just out of badness.
I will be your dungeon master.
I will be your dungeon master. Yeah. You could do this and this. I don't want to do that. I should have done that probably, Colin. Anyway, right. But yeah, worth keeping an eye out for that in future. Like I say, there's a couple more coming, and you can sort of see how the dungeon crawl works and the character progression kicks off as well, which is always good.
Nice. Yeah.
Always good to see. But now it's time to kick off the show properly with the most important part, the indie of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This week's indie of
I'm
the
going to
week
celebrate that with a bit of donut.
is Bombshell Miniatures. Let's see how I'm just ignoring you, Lloyd.
Don't ask me anything.
No, I won't. I 100% will not ask you anything at all. So, Lloyd, what's your favourite one in Bombshell Miniatures then? Is it is these things? What? Drink faster. Masticate, man. Masticate. So, Bombshell, I think we looked at last year from a 3D printing point of view.
That was the way that we approached it, yeah.
But I want to point out the physical side of Bombshell, because there's a lot going on and a few bits and pieces that are in the offing.
It's been here for a while, hasn't it?
It has been here for a while. So the biggest by far are the Babes, which we will check out forthwith. But they have a couple of other ranges there. So Chibi and Critterkins are kind of fluffy, cartoonish, interesting things that you can play with. Counterblast is their atomic ray punk, I think is the phrase. So if you think Saturday morning serial, sort of your Flash Gordons,
Captain
your Dan
Bucky
Dares, your Captain Bucky O'Hare and the Righteous Indignation, all of that. Sidekicks are, as you would imagine, sidekicks. Some of them bigger than others. In fact, let's start with the sidekicks, and we can go from there. So these sidekicks are, as you can see, superhero-esque sidekicks. So might be a She-Hulk styling.
What are they delivering? Are they delivering a 3D printed miniature to you?
Oh, yes. No, maybe. It depends. It's complicated. We'll get into that more in a minute. The site has been going for a while, and when we hit the Babes, you'll see they're nearly all metal. And Counterblast are mostly metal, but they're phasing out metal in favor of 3D printed miniatures. But they also have some miniatures that are resin cast, as in 2-part polyurethane and then pressure cooked. But yeah, we have the sort of the superhero sidekick theme, but you've also got sidekicks in the way of little teeny tiny things that accompany stuff. So where you've got a very, I'm trying to remember her name in Aquaman.
Mira,
that's the one.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of superhero styles, but then here's one of the more sort of counterblast. There you can see Tilly in all her 3D printedness with her jetpacks and Zappy Zoom ray gun.
That is a proper old school ray gun.
Oh God, yeah. There's a lot to be said for old school ray guns. You'll see some of them in some of the other sections later on. They sell like little sprues of ray guns and stuff.
And you too can make one at home using a hairdryer.
Or what you call those things? Hot glue gun.
Or a hot glue gun, gun.
But the other sidekicks, these are my real favorites. When you're looking at things adorable. When you're looking at things like Doom Bunny, I mean, why would you not have a Doom Bunny if you can have a Doom Bunny? And
is this the chibi range we're in?
No, this is just sidekicks. Sidekicks can be anything from little robots or droids or imps, aliens, things, pets, cats, space monkeys. There's all sorts of stuff. And, in some cases, they do just look like little fun, whimsical things that they've added in for their own personal amusement, and other ones then have sort of progressed into the main range. So there was like a little mini space brain bug squid, and now you can get whole units of them for counterblast.
Yeah.
So it's,
I don't know about this guy. This guy's easy to beat. You just step on his toe.
oh no,
He's exposed himself there.
That's the
Always
way.
the way.
All Zen masters just step on their toes.
Mm. I quite like these, because when you're looking through them, obviously, Warhammer Fantasy years ago used to have whole ranges of tiny little sidekick / minions or
familiars and things like
magical
that.
familiars. Yeah.
Oh, the eye slug is cool.
The eye slug's it's just creeping unknown.
Why did you bring it into the ship, you idiot?
Did somebody deliberately bring it into the ship, or did it just creep in when you opened, like a squirrel through a doorway?
That's weird. When it gets itchy, scratching itself with its own mouth. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, it's always good. Speaking of Bucky O'Hare, there's Buckshot the Jackalope. I mean, it's close.
Yeah, it's close.
It is pretty close.
No cigar.
Well, be like that then. Be like that.
Did Bucky O'Hare have a cigar?
No.
No.
Because I was sitting thinking, I don't remember having a cigar.
But
I get what you mean now.
The little space chimps.
That's so cool. I love that.
There's a whole range of these spacey characters that have clear, like perspex bubbles for their spacesuits. And they're just great. And it's just like, never get rid of those, because they are 100% excellent.
I would love to do a Stargrave scenario where your crews have been sent to a planet because there's like a down ship there, and they think that it might have like things that you can loot from it, and it's actually one of those old spaceships from the first days of space travel that has some of the monkey crew in it, and then
Monkey crew or
they run
Micah,
off with like
the
relics and stuff. Yeah.
So are they dead? Are they dead, monkey crew?
No, they're still alive, and they've run off with all your relics. So you've got to.
That's okay.
So yeah.
I was picturing a completely different type of scenario there.
Don't want a board of dead monkeys.
They'd be frozen like Gil Gerard was in Buck Rogers, and then thawed out years later.
Out and mad,
and then everybody just kills them off. But yeah, the space pets are just absolutely class. I just love them. Love the whole idea behind it. The tiny little dinosaurs and other bits and bobs are just delightful as well. And I have absolutely no idea what I would use a lot of these things for.
But I'd use that one as a dinosaur.
That doesn't mean I would find a reason for them, because these are tiny. But I do have a whole range of Conan 15mm figures, at which point these tiny dinosaur sidekicks become
actual velociraptors,
better sized for my tiny little 15mm. Because there's like a Stegosaurus and stuff like that as well.
Oh, there's a whole range.
Oh yeah.
Let's see more of those. Where did we find more dinosaurs?
Oh, you terrible thing. There's a Warfare Wombat. Giant dodo, that would be good.
Oh my god, Warfare Wombat's amazing.
There's the camel from the beer ads.
Pint of heart and a packet of dates.
What's
that?
It's
the Helpersaur. Look at him coming at you like Cleopatra. There's bags on the back.
Just
a rake of those
satchels with grenades. Send them in.
Their little Stegosaur. I mean, I
could see too adorable.
I could see Conan cutting the head off that. I mean, adorable. That's savage. That's the impish grin a Stegosaur gives you just before it has your leg off.
I'm about to kill you with my spikes.
Yeah. I'm a homicidal maniac, and I'm going to kill you, Conan. Then it would just lay the head in. Anyway, so yeah.
Herbivore at home, predator outside.
So there's a whole range of tiny little impy sidekicks, which are just delightful. What do you want to see next?
Chibi.
Do you want to see chibi stuff? Okay, you'd be like that. I'll open.
I'm not really into chibi, but I'm hoping to see a chibi cabra in here.
Oh my god, I hate you so much.
A chibi cabra? That'd be awesome.
No. Yeah, we get it, Lloyd.
Yeah, we all hear you. Just none of us want to comment on it.
We play Dead Man's Hand with that.
You could do.
You'd hate me for it.
Oh no, not at all.
I'm regretting this. These are too chibi for me.
You asked for chibi, and you said when you got chibi.
You can't get more chibi than this, as you can see.
I forgot how big heads are on chibi.
Because what you do then, John, is you see the cowgirl that we had there.
Yeah.
You would then put her up against somebody from the Critterkins. You two could have Dead Man's Hand playing out.
No, oh my god.
Yes.
Flint Beastwood.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
The puns.
Oh god, yeah. Oh, I mean, why would you not? If you could do it, why would you not do it? So as you can see, the Critterkins are again. They're not all of them are chibi, but a lot of them are. So you get this.
You can go to the gaming table, a fistful of furries.
Bam, as he said. Bam. That looks like one of those. I want to say, is it a Big Daddy? Because that was a wrestler to me. But
from the video game
Bioshock. Right. Okay. See?
Big Daddy's wrinkly ass, maybe.
That's a terrible thing.
This is piles. I gotta push that out of my mind.
I think Lloyd's had too much sugar. I think eating too many donuts.
It's very much. Somebody fetch the insulin. He needs to be calmed down.
Oh, Managara, the Viking wolf, is cool as well. I like that character. That's neat.
Yeah. I mean, these along with they have a 75mm range of like 4 or 5 big models and some busts, make really just nice painting projects. Yeah. Even if you're not planning on playing with them per se.
I have painted some Bombshell way back. Way back.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wore I think on a few of our early weekenders, I wore their t-shirt and they kept screenshotting me wearing their t-shirt on the weekender and going, look, he likes our stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember having Bombshell as a creepy stalker for a while.
Nice.
If only these guys could do Disney's flipping Robin Hood. Oh, that'd be amazing. Well, how long before that drops out of copyright?
No, not long enough. I think was it be 2040 or thereabouts? It's like 100 years on copyright.
Wow, the bewitching cat.
Yep.
It would be the eyes that I would have a real issue. I don't think I could do the eyes properly without.
I think you're thinking they're more complicated than they are because those eyes are pretty big. It's not like painting normal miniature eyes. There's quite a canvas there to paint on.
Yeah,
it's black with a yellow half circle and a white dot.
I suppose. Yeah, I have this horrible
and some eyeliner.
I'd make them looking really like odd.
But you were saying last week, Ben, talking about using paint pens. I mean, there's a
true. Yeah, just use paint pens. Yeah. That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
But anyway,
lovely.
I hate that you've brought me back onto Bombshell's website because I'm like,
you're welcome.
I'm gonna start buying again.
The counterblast is amazing and stuff. But we'll look at that in a second.
Shall we go to counterblast then?
Let's go to counterblast.
Okay. So counterblast is their big sci-fi game, which is also getting a RPG in the not too future, distant. Yeah, using Savage Worlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
By Kickstarter, I think soon. So.
Yeah. And this is why I'm saying it's complicated, Lloyd. So these are all metal, but the metal are being retired.
But they're being replaced, not phased out.
So they're replacing it in 2 ways. One is...
Oh, they are being phased out.
Yes. No.
Yeah, but the range isn't being phased out.
Once again, it's complicated. So we looked at their 3D printing stuff a while ago. And what they've done is, because it'll be in here somewhere, won't it? There'll be like a thing that says 3D printing. Is that word somewhere that I'm completely missing?
Digital STL.
Oh, there we go. So what they've done is they've sculpted a lot of the new stuff as straight digital files. However, older stuff has been 3D scanned from the old metal sculpts.
Oh,
so while some of the lines have gone away or will be going away, those particular sculpts may be replaced by new digital versions. However, the old style sculpt is going to be available courtesy of the STL. So they'll be in here somewhere. And it will say on it that, these are 3D scans. I think it says actually 3D scans
kind of
of metal.
You've kind of backed the range up digitally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So So these ones may disappear at some point, which is a terrible thing because, why would you not want a giant space squid brain. Yeah. That was it, because when I was looking at the little Edo swarmlings a while ago, and I was going, what do they remind me of? They remind me of something, and I couldn't place it. And then I'm just sitting there, I'm thinking, Galaxy Quest, the time when they come into the room to put to put the stuff into the crew's ears, the universal translators, and they're all holding like tools and stuff in their little creepy tentacle hands before they turn on their
humanizer.
Yeah, they're a little hologram thing. But I think the first Edo swarmling was a companion, and then at some point somebody went, it's just a unit of them.
That's so cool. I love those.
It's what I like about alien races. They don't all have to be humanoid. You don't need the tiny pointy ears or bridge of the nose that's got a little twiddly bit on it. Like TV series, you can go for
the Star Trek method.
Bakshi mad, yeah.
It's a human, but with a ridge.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, if you want to do a space shark in a bubbly helmet, then do a bipedal humanoid space shark in a bubbly helmet, because why not? You can see space shark
take a bite out
face
of
better.
You.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there. I didn't want to, but I seen it. If I
it's
do
not
that,
safe to go back into.
I don't think you'd ever meet a space shark, though.
Right.
Well, what?
Because they're water creatures. Water creatures can't make fire, and therefore they can't make technology.
You say that, but
in a world of laser guns,
have you tried rubbing seaweed together long enough? It might combust. There's no way to tell it won't.
Also, that is so cool. I love that model. It's amazing. It reminds me of Street Sharks, and Street Sharks was great. So,
if you say so. Yes. So the space sharks. Does anybody remember Space Precinct?
Yeah.
Was that not the very, very look of the Space Precinct?
I think it was kind of. I'm having vague memories. I remember the show, and I'm troubling picturing it.
It would be easier if he spoke, because if he had a dodgy Irish accent, we'd know it's definitely the alien from Space Precinct. The Chief O'Hara in space, bug-eyed freak. Anyway, but yeah, some of the alien races are particularly cool.
Yeah. It looks a lot like him, but his eyes. Oh, it looks a lot like the Chief. Yeah. You should look that up.
Maybe later. So yeah, the Ido Fellini, which sounds like an Italian filmmaker. It does.
Famous for his spaghetti westerns.
Famous for his spaghetti westerns and Atomic Ray Punk. But look at that. It's just a winged space Seth head thing coming at you. You wouldn't want a flock of them coming at you. That
would be the point in the episode where they're just crawling around on the floor, and you're like, they can't get to us. They're too slow. And then they start flying.
Can you see the size comparison to a 28 mil figure there?
I like this. Yeah. This would be an awesome transport system.
What, just over your head and fly and then just drop you?
Yeah.
I imagine that is 100% how that works.
Superior Tyranid gargoyles.
Yes. Flying chiropractors.
He's exciting and good as well.
Oh, he's big. Is that a 28 mil?
Yep.
Beside him?
Yeah.
Oh, now we're talking big beasties.
So
imagine there's a tiny little Idafini brain bug in there cockpitting away.
There is, yeah.
But it looks like a guy with hands, though.
Oh, no, that's just tentacles
got his little tentacles.
Oh, that's just the wee tentacle stubs.
Yeah. Look, I just love it. I love it so much. They have done a
lovely
classic rocket ship style thing.
They have, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's. I think you can get the STL of it, but resin it's like $250 or something. But it's enormous, and I'm just looking at it going, it would look so good on my table.
I always wanted to paint it like the ship from the Grand Day Out. The Wallace and Gromit one. So in like rusty orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work. It's very much that sort of style. So there are little weapon sprues kicking around with things looking not dissimilar to Klingon batliths and stuff like that. But yeah.
If you go to is there like the characters in Gear one? That's the one, and the robots and vehicles. I think those are two.
Yes. I can,
because they give you the kind of characters that you'd use for your cruising counterblast, but you could also I've seen a lot of people using these for the likes of Stargrave and things that we mentioned earlier.
Oh, 5 parsecs, all of it.
Oh, yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Everything and their dog, when you get right down to it. There's the Battlethy type things. But
there's Mali. That's the character I've painted.
It is, yeah. I remember that.
Now you remember.
Yeah.
On the top picture, I thought I seen a Bolchinian, but it's not.
no, it's not. No, the giant eye.
No, the one with the giant boobs. I thought it was a Bolchinian. Go on, you know you want to. Go on, scroll up. Scroll up. No, right up the top picture. There you go, far left. Bolchinian. Nope.
Oh, right. Yeah, but the giant eye on the top.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a giant eye. Different anatomy, though. Different anatomy.
Thanks for derailing this. Thank you.
Says that. It's a very...
That hairstyle is so
It's
on brand.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's screaming... I would say it's screaming Blade Runner, except there is actually a Blade Runner style model. So
There are, yeah, that's true.
It's a
Yeah.
Blade Runner Power Ranger.
The
There-
Pink
there-
Ranger, if she was in
there
Blade
was
Runner.
a blending that people weren't be expecting on a...
1950s Art Deco.
Yeah. Because their like initial crew was the one that they represented as, was it the Lancers, wasn't it? And then
Yeah.
they kind of added in, which because the Lancers were their idea of kind of like the brown coats, essentially, I guess, really, of like their Bombshell world, where they were kind of just a bunch of
Cyber brains.
mercenaries and all that kind of thing. And then they had the security additions and all that kind of stuff as well. So
Yeah.
the
But-
robot uprising.
Put your cyber brain into your robot machine and off you go. A good time is had by all, except by anybody who has to deal with robots with cyber brain stuffed into them.
Yeah, this freaks me out. This is a bit too like Kane from Cubical 2.
True.
That starts to freak me out. That whole brainless thing, bodiless brain. Oh, freaks me out.
You say freaks you out, but I mean, they're class. They're really class. I also like the fact that you just pick up the plastic domes and they do a couple of different types. So they do
So you can
completely
just slot them over
encapsulated
the
and then
heads of
just
whatever you've got. Yeah.
front facing,
Mhm.
if you will, because they're really, really nice to have.
What a nice little section of stuff. Yeah.
And then the robots and vehicles.
There's the ship.
Yeah.
Although it's one of the smaller ones. Or is
Well,
that the STL file version?
No,
Or is
that's just one of the little small ones because you can see the scaling there.
that-
So
Oh, yeah.
There
perfect
was a
for,
bigger one on the page. I could see
perfect
it.
for billions. Oh yeah, it's further down.
That's
Oh, we'll
the
get to it
tactical scale ship. I see.
for your ship to ship combat.
Yes.
You two can make one out of a cabbage cream egg.
Creme. It's creme egg. It's not. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, you say whatever you like, Sonny Jimbo. I know a cream egg when I see one. Although nobody will be seeing one, didn't like 200,000 of them get stolen recently. Nobody's seen a cabbage cream egg this year. Bots, so
cool.
many bots.
First
I also like the
responder
fact that
bots.
a lot of them have the little tagline in with them, explaining what it is, where they come from. That's, giving you this counterblast in universe.
Yeah, getting some real space rama stuff. Yeah.
Now that is
So
the
Futurama.
expensive one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's the delivery ship. You can do that. Yeah.
But that's when you see,
Wow.
totally unnecessary. I love it.
Brilliant.
I want two, please. I can't have two, though. Not for
So
the likes
very
of me.
cool. So very cool.
And these, look, whoever was responsible for the Book of Bubbly Feet, this is what a biker gang should look like on Tatooine, not space mods.
Bloody space mobs.
Makes you nostalgic for the days when rockers would beat them up. But they're
They're very
really,
cool.
really nice.
Yeah.
There's bound to be tons of games that will use them even if you're not into the counterblast itself, which I'm curious as to see what the system for counterblast is.
Yeah, I'd love to actually give it a go. It's been around for so long, and yet I've never really dived properly into it, and it seems like something that I should definitely.
Well,
Give
I'm
a
pretty
shot,
sure this
but,
is the second edition now.
Yeah.
So it's been sort of upgraded and tweakulated.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly, as well, Savage Worlds is a system as a role-playing game that also works as like a.
Is there someone beeping a horn outside your place, Ben? Is it?
Every time Ben
Yeah.
talks.
It's a beep.
I'll just wait until that's gone.
Just trying to mute him.
Wow, they're really impatient. That's still going. Don't worry, Ben. We can't hear it as long as you don't talk.
Yeah.
Cool.
just-
Well, as I was going to say, interestingly, Savage Worlds as a roleplay system also has been designed so that you can play it with miniatures as a miniatures game. So you can
All right,
always use Savage Worlds as a miniatures game within their miniatures game if you really wanted to, which is cool. So yeah, very nice.
And the tiny, I don't know where they could be from.
Hey!
Like the mini bot set. I mean,
Paint them canary yellow and away you go.
away you go, indeed. Well, we can see how they've been painted. See?
Oh,
Canary
cool.
yellow.
Oh.
They look a lot like the dude from Return to Oz.
Oh,
What's that
TikTok,
dude?
man.
TikTok.
They also kind of look like the robots from the Smash Potato ads.
Yes, because they've all got the Canadian
Yeah,
look with the mouth halfway down.
Yeah.
For mash, get smash. That's one for the kids in the audience.
Oh, they've also got a little bit of bashes not included in them too.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
That's what it looks like too, with the little feet.
But anyway, so yeah, Counterblast has some excellent pieces in there. And there's a whole rake of various alien races that are a little bit different from the norm. Things like the Nerians, where all the fighting's done by the women and the blokes are weedy merchants and stuff. Which is just, I like the idea of the sort of the space Amazon type.
That's cool.
Running around the place and stabbing people up. It's very Raquel Welsh. Or Raquel. All right.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Beyond the sci-fi-isms of Counterblast, the biggest range is the Babes. And these are just absolutely chock filled with fantastic character models. Some of which you may have seen as we scouted through, but
Dusty Page.
other ones lurking in amongst them. Megan the Swashbuckler, buckling all the swash. And this is Dusty Page. There we go.
That's cool.
Really nice. Rocking a repeater rifle as well. Very good for Daughters of the West, for Dead Man's Hand, just say.
Yeah.
With all the repeating rifles, all of them. But again, the range of models is just stonking.
Oh my god,
There's,
that's cool.
there's the regular version of that little chibi one
Yeah.
with the big
I'm
daddy
only
helmet.
I'm only now seeing that it's a diving suit.
Yeah. Or like
Yeah.
a Martian
Rather than Big
explorer
Daddy's
or-
ass. Yeah.
You're just the worst. All of you are the worst. I can't take you anywhere. There are a pair of absolutely stonking samurai. There's this one,
Cool.
which is very over the top. That Naginata as well. The back is very chunky. But my favorite has got to be the one on, I think it's just the next page. A clever man would have broken these all up. There we go.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes, it really is. And I fear for my wallet.
I fear you've already bought it.
No, I've been very good. Very good. Not that good. Moderately good. I'm going to skip right to the end and go backwards because right at the end has some interesting ones. There's Tyra Olds, Cyber Detective.
I see what they've done there.
Yep. Yep. It's good, isn't it? Very good. By Sean. And there is a little owl on a stand in the critter section
Yeah.
as well. Fancy a bit of the classic Flash Gordon.
Oh wow.
There's
That's
the
cool.
princess.
Yeah.
All you need is a Justin-like model to be Ming the Merciless. And away you go.
That's it. Flash Gordon, that was a movie and a half.
There's plenty of those on the market now, anyway.
Oh god, yeah. So
As
many.
we've discovered.
Uh,
The
Mila
Resident Evil.
Jovovich from Resident
Yeah.
Evil.
Oh yeah.
With the cookery.
I hadn't twigged that, but yeah, that's cool.
There's also a version of her on a bike with some apocalypse type raiders kicking around as well,
Oh.
which I imagine is probably on this page. Bam. Well done, me.
How does he do it?
Because I've, pure blind luck. Who knew? It's not like I spend a lot of time trawling these pages and marking things down that I might want to come back and revisit and buy. No, I don't even know. I don't even know where you got that idea from.
Oh, have they done the Dora Milaje? They have. Oh, that's cool.
Have they? I don't know. You tell me.
From Black Panther. Yeah.
I don't know what you mean. These are Cyber Zulu ones.
Yes.
The micro be upset. It's a shame Warren's now, but these are 15 mil.
Cool.
And I mean, again,
it's just a random little experiment in a smaller scale, but it turns out nice. Yeah.
There's Ripley.
What's in the box? The cat, isn't it?
In that box, yeah.
But is it dead or alive? That's the question.
Both. That's how it exists in that state. If you need somebody for those Cyber Zulu warriors to guard, you two can have Sable Kitty's mum. But yeah, just a whole range of absolutely fantastic models. Cool. And they run the gamut from historic through to fantasy, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic. So you'll find all sorts of weird and wacky things, which means if you're after a character model or a project, there's a load shop for you. There you go. You'll find something in here that will do the job 100%.
Yeah, something that'll stand out nicely, make your army unique.
Yeah. It's the noise that Raptor makes.
What are these? Are these 32 mil or 28 mil?
28s. Well, who knows?
I see 30 on the base. So
yeah, I've supplied with a 30 mil base, so 30 mil round, but then the middle of that base is about 25. That's really nice. That's a really nice Valkyrie. I should probably not look at that right now. Anyway, yes. So Bombshell miniatures, a whole world of fun, and like I say,
go and check
the sci-fi, the counterblast stuff. I keep saying sci-fi, but it's not. It's Atomic Ray Punk.
Yeah,
Ray Punk. It's good. It's a good name. Fascinating one that I definitely want to see more about game wise. And possibly even have a look at the RPG when it comes down the line. Because
Savage Worlds is a great system, so it works really nicely for what they want to do, I think.
I've never really explored Savage Worlds. I've got some books that are compatible with Savage Worlds, but I've never looked at the core rule set. Normally they're just in little boxes beside proper Cthulhu rules, and I just ignore those. Because they don't use percentile dice.
It's been designed very, very nicely for pulpy style experiences. Like I used it to tell like a mummy style adventure with my friends and Indiana Jones and that kind of thing. So it's really good for that.
Oh, well, in that case, it's perfect. So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see where they go, and also how the counterblast range adapts to changing from the old school sculpting into the new third dimensional ones, what like the kids do. But anyway, yes, Bombshell minis. Check them out, kids. We shall be right back with the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we're back with the news, and we're kicking off with a bit of Blockmania.
Yes.
Blockmania.
Yeah.
Warlord Games have been announcing a addition, a supplement, and expansion. Have they declared what it is?
All of those things, yes.
Listen, so much more.
Well, this will be useful because I'm sitting here thinking, what the block are we talking about?
So this is the new Block War expansion set from Warlord Games for Judge Dredd and the 2000 AD system. So this is a new set that's coming out with a whole bunch of bits and pieces in it that allow you to play out, as the name would suggest, block wars in Mega City 1. The focus of this is on essentially creating, a little bit like an RPG style thing, creating your own block. So you build up the block, the inhabitants of it, what amenities, I guess it has, hab units and all that kind of thing. And then you pit your blocks against other blocks in Mega City 1 and kick ass and take names. Now, if you don't want to play as one of the members of the block, you could also just throw your luck in with the judges and you could fight alongside them in their new riot control set, which looks pretty badass.
Yeah, they are sweet.
and you could just shut down all of these riots, all of these block wars with lethal efficiency as you beat your way through the crowds. But yes, I think this is a exceptionally cool idea for them to have embraced for Judge Dredd. These are some new fatties. Yeah.
I shall join them on my journey.
Fatty battering rams.
Yes. So that's Fats Hambo, which might be related to a particular character from popular fiction. And then there is the fatty battering ram at the front there with these little frying pan defenses. Yeah.
I love the wheels. The wheels are cool.
The trundle wheels.
Yeah. To carry their weight. Yes.
They look a bit like the two big fat bikers on the tiny wee bikes.
Yes. From the Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Many years ago.
God, yeah. Crikey, that's an old meme.
Yeah, that is an old, yeah. Really hard to show our age.
Yeah. But yeah, as well as the fatties and the riot judges, they've also got this set of the mega city residents, essentially. So you can use these to build up your mob. So, everybody rises up when the block war starts. And that means you've got to throw your luck in and use all sorts of weapons. You could be using broken bottles, your walking stick. Maybe you've got a pair of scissors or a gun hidden somewhere. I don't know. But I just love the idea. And down
Careful
with this. I love that. Yeah. I just love the idea of seeing these characters sort of rushing across the tabletop, getting stuck into all sorts of crazy fights against the judges and, against each other as well. And I think there's enough stuff within the sets that they've done so far across the entire of the Judge Dredd range for you to make some really fun and interesting gangs that can kick ass and take names in Mega City 1. I think it's really cool idea.
The interesting thing for me is it seems to be a campaign style type thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But not based around your gang. Based around your actual tower block.
Yes, because you can blow bits of it up and damage it and all that kind of thing.
The first one to reduce the structures of your opponent's block wins, essentially. There's some interesting sort of concepts kicking around in there where normally when you're playing a campaign in any sort of style of game, you're always advancing your group. Whereas this, it may be ways of either helping shore up your block or knock it down, or maybe a combination of both. I'm dying to find out more.
I think it's a really cool
because
idea.
They've not. I think the pre-orders started today, but I want to see what is going on with the actual concepts behind it. Because some of the cards are things like you see there, restore one structure point to the building. Presumably, you're not going to be able to knock a block down in one game.
Well, yeah,
presumably, but. There was another one that says increase your elevation by up to 18 inches. So clearly some of the cards are for the idea of playing up massive structures, whether or not many people will be making ridiculously huge structures for the tabletop.
Did you just say go up by 18 inches?
Yes.
That's a lot of inches.
Yes.
I definitely want to see that. I think that's
I want to see some. I want to actually see some.
This is not fair. Like if I'm going to try to play Jerry at this, he will just send all his men way higher than I can reach.
Massively higher than you. We've seen that already.
No, you just got to blow the base of the tower, and then the whole thing.
Everything comes down.
So
send some skyboarders up after.
Considering, because I was looking at some of the pricing and stuff around all of this, like the Block Wars set, even if you get like the big chunky one, it's like 85 quid, which gives you all the additional new miniatures that they've thrown in, that kind of thing. And then if you look at the starter set, which is about 55, 60 quid as well, that's actually not bad for diving in and having enough to start playing around with. And then they've done all the different sets, as I was mentioning as well. So it's a really cool little idea, I think. And especially if people want to play something that's like sci-fi skirmish, but they don't want to have to deal with the books of Necromunda and all that kind of stuff. I think this could be a really fun avenue to go down because it's got a lot of the vibes of that kind of game.
What's the footprint of this game? Is it a 4x4?
I don't know how Block War is going to change things. Last time I played it, we played on a 4x4.
If you're fighting vertical, that would be interesting because it reduce the footprint and just play vertically.
Play higher, yes. Yeah, I don't see any problem with that at all.
You know, because a lot of people don't have space in their houses, but they got vertical space.
So it's a very valid point, and I don't see any reason why you can't.
Yeah.
is the thing, because,
I think-
it's...
I think the normal setup for games is about 4x4.
Yeah,
I think it
well,
is.
the last
So,
one I played was on a 4x4,
Yeah.
but
because you get some mats in the starter set and things for
Yeah.
Judge Dredd, so you can play around with that if you want
Yeah.
to. But
yeah, it'd be fascinating, even if you're only, playing vertically could be interesting. It's just how you do that. Not tricky, just time consuming, building a lot of very tall structures. Maybe
And also-
maybe magnets.
And also, I can categorically say that it would be really easy to paint your Judge Dredd miniatures because you just use the slap chop method, because you just do the black with the white, overbrush or whatever, and then you just slap on contrast. And
Yeah.
everything's so easy.
As miniature gamers, I think we're missing a trick here. Can you imagine if you built essentially a platform game on your wall and you just play between platforms and you shoot up and shoot down?
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah. And you just stand at the wall playing with the wall.
We talked
On
about
the
this before.
wall.
We talked about doing a Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia.
style
And we never did.
Time
Yeah,
ago.
no, we never did.
Yeah.
But we talked
We
about
should have.
it. We should have, yeah. The best laid plans most. There are thinkers and there are doers, and clearly we see where we fall on that category.
But specifically, someone should think about this. Like, you could literally do this, stick it up like a picture frame on your wall, and then when you're not playing, your miniatures just stay on it like a display.
Oh, like a
So
display.
you got a funky looking display, which you then can play on.
Yeah.
I guess Warren was trying to do that with his dungeon display, really, but he just whatever.
No, but I'm called like totally flat,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
Yeah, but-
And
like
this sort
1
of
inch,
wide
yeah.
to be able to stand a couple of miniatures beside each other, and you play along the platforms and up and down ladders and stuff.
That
Think
would be
snakes and ladders, but for miniatures.
See, I'm just thinking Spectrum games.
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
Spectrum platformer ever. Anyway, right, but yeah,
But you can shoot like 2 platforms up with this weapon, 1 platform up with that weapon. You can drop bombs down this way.
drop them down a chute.
Jump through the teleporter. Boop. Now you're up here.
Fire yourself out the window, covered in Boeing. It's all very doable. Right, enough of that though.
Oh.
Trident Realms and Mantic.
Yeah. So Armada so far has had some fairly, I'd say, quite typical ships, I suppose.
Pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
all of their vessels for their various factions that have come out so far have looked quite like vessels that you would assume you'd find in, well, there you go. There's a lovely ship. But the Trident Realms, being who they are, have decided we don't need no wooden ships.
No.
They have instead brought many of the different monsters from the depths and are using them as their vessels to hunt down their foes. So these are the first sort of quick previews, hence the very small pictures of
Bigger now.
the Trident Realms that are going to be coming out very soon from the folks at Mantic for Armada. They've done typically what you would have found with the rest of the Armada range. So you're going to get the starter fleet, which you can see there, alongside booster fleets. And there's like another couple of packs that have been done alongside that as well. In the starter set, you get the giant squid, the giant turtle, and the Cucker chariot.
You've missed an N.
Knucker. God damn it. Someone misspelled it on a website and I copied it verbatim.
I only knew that because I've got Knuckers in my Trident Realm army for Kings of War.
Yes, is.
Look at
and
Jerry's
then-
knockers. Yeah.
This one down here.
That's the and then beyond that, we've also got the sort of booster fleet there that you can see, which comes with the gun turtle, which just does what it says on the tin.
Yep.
The Kia Angler fish, which is the one at the back on the right. And then you've got the worm drawn sloops. So you've got your sort of strange undersea ships being drawn forth by mighty sea beasts and dragons of the realms, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I just like the idea that in a game of Armada where you're mostly fussed with cannons, you come up against the Trident Realm and they go, well, we're not going to shoot anything at you. We're just going to eat your ship. And you're like, oh, okay.
You're in for a bad time when, water elementals like tsunami come crashing down on top of you.
Exactly. Where everything around you suddenly becomes an enemy
Yeah.
because it is the enemy. Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
fascinated to see how it goes, though, because we've not seen Trident Realm list yet.
No, yeah. So it's all sort of early days for this one. Right? There's also the Leviathan, which was added into the mix as well, which is a big, monstrous Leviathan. Think Moby Dick on steroids, I guess. It's an odd.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'd seen they'd done a picture of a narwhal on the website, and I'm wondering because they often do alternate versions, you can have the Abyss or you can have the Dictator, and sometimes they're named.
That might be what
I'm wondering
they do
if
with
the
that,
Narwhal is the option for the Trident Realm Leviathan there.
That
I also
might be
really
the way
like
to go,
the big bronzy / corally style castles on their backs.
Yeah.
It's,
Apparently, they quite enjoy their boarding actions, do the Trident Realm. So it's all about getting up close, wrapping the ship up in tentacles, and then disgorging your crew onto the deck of the enemy ship so you can cut them down, which I think is a really neat idea. And they'll play, I assume, very differently from what we've seen previously. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I imagine you're not having to worry too much about the wind when you're mounted on the back of a giant Kraken or a huge
Something
Giga
about
or
help.
whatever it happens to be. So I'm not sure what to expect from it.
It's a good point that these guys don't care about the wind at all. They should be pretty fast all the time. You would think.
Wind is optional for Armada. You can just use it to designate activation sequence, which is the standard game, or you can add in basic wind rules that allow you to move faster if you're sailing away from the wind, or if you're sailing into the wind, you can be calmed and stuff like that but then that obviously puts sailing ships at a disadvantage to dwarves with steam-powered paddles or Trident Realms mounted on the back of monsters. So it's there as an optional extra.
And these guys could be breaking wind as well to go even faster.
They could be. You'll be able to see, though, because there'll be like bubbles on the back of their bases. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm really curious to see this. I imagine, because I know Armada is going to be added to the companion app in the next month or so. It's not on the companion app yet, but I imagine once it goes on, this list will be on there as well, this fleet. So yeah, I'm very curious. I'm still
they're using
some Basileans, though.
I see they're using that sort of coral look then to try and tie the whole faction together, because everything is individual.
Yeah.
So how does it look like a fleet? So there's corally sort of stuff on their backs and colors. That's how they're tying everything to look like a faction then, with the way they've painted it.
Yeah, it's
a really cool idea.
It's a good way of doing it, especially when you've got an anglerfish or a giant whale / narwhal.
I'm unconvinced. I get the idea, but I just don't know. Like fielding like a whole fleet that doesn't necessarily look like a fleet.
I have absolutely no problem with that at all.
I think that's cool because it's like the ocean itself, which is the Trident Realms, have kind of risen up against the enemies above them. I think it's a really neat idea.
Oh yeah, it's always good to appear with a bunch of squid-faced people and kick the toys out of all the surface dwellers. It's always good. I have absolutely no problem with that. There's also, if you're into Armada or thinking about starting,
the Essentials pack,
done a big set.
So you can just buy, if you wanted to, you could just buy 2 starter fleets, get this additional set, maybe split between you and a friend or something, and you'd have pretty much everything you needed to get going then, really. So
it's a really nice map.
I love that cover. Let's have a picture of the sea over the sea.
The sea was always their background for these, which makes sense until the point where you put the sea map on. It's just like, oh well.
Somewhere Sundancer is going, aha, I was right.
No, not right, Sundancer, because I quite like the fact that all my boxes match up until the point where I take the stuff out and paint it, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I see what they've done there.
I see what you've done.
It looks like a snooker table.
Oh my god!
Pardon?
It kind of looks a bit like a snooker table.
Yeah, is the pockets what we're aiming for in the middle? Yeah. Go down.
Could
go down. There you go.
Those are wind roses, so whenever you're playing, the wind can change direction, and the direction the wind comes from designates the order of activation. So it's an easy way of keeping track. You just put the token on.
That's not as fun.
Section.
That's
I know it's not as fun, but it has the bonus of being right. So there you go. Yeah, keep an eye out if you like your squid face things.
Yeah, very cool.
Also, there's already a giant kraken. You could just use the giant kraken in one of the scenarios where it was like a hunt the giant type of thing, except you were hunting the giant kraken as it just went boogaloo in the middle of the table, splishing, splashing, and smashing things. So.
I think the scale is very similar to that of Black Seas as well, isn't it? So you could use the like Creatures of the Deep or something from that. To add to the game as well, if you want.
It's both, because it uses Black Seas as the core mechanics.
Yes.
And then
that'd be easy enough to transport over. Yeah.
There's a deck of cards you can get that allows you to play the historic Black Seas fleet as a generic Kingdoms of Men fleet in Armada.
Perfecto.
The only thing you need to do is you need to base Black Seas doesn't come on bases. They just sit on the mat, very annoyingly, when you come to measure things. So if you put them all on bases, it works better. And then you can use them in Armada as well. Shall we have a look at what Knuckleduster been up to?
Yeah, so we looked at them as an Indie of the Week, which was great. Absolutely fantastic range and game in Gunfighters Ball. But they also do a game called Gunfight Royale, which we had a little bit of a look at as well, which is that kind of like board gamey style thing that you can play with your family and stuff. But a lot of people were really liking the characters that had been done for Gunfight Royale. And so the folks at Knuckleduster, Harris, decided to dive in and sculpt up all of those different characters in their more their correct proportions, I suppose, rather than chibi.
Yeah, and, the big-headed things in the other.
And now they've been introduced into the world of Gunfighters Ball as a whole host of fun and interesting characters, some of which you may know, some of which you may not. You've got a dastardly villain, probably going to go and tie someone to a railroad. That's what I like to see. Alongside a whole host of different heroes and all that kind of stuff as well. So you've got, I think, this split over 3 different sets.
Yep.
Each of them with a good selection of different characters in them, and you'll find cards and everything you need for them as well in the future too, which is quite nice. I love that you've got the kind of like Wild Bill Hickok and stuff in there, which I think is great. So cool.
That was a Phantom I particularly like because it's just the shadow. The superhero, 1920s superhero by Wild West.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just needs to have that mask. If it was just a little bit lower, so his big nose stuck over the top, it'd be like one of the Baldwins.
I'm not sure if the Mountain Man is meant to be tied into an older film, but he reminds me very much of the character from the Quentin Tarantino movie that came out. I can't remember what it was called now. The Hateful Eight. That was it, yeah. Played by the dude.
Kurt Russell.
God damn, Kurt Russell, yes. I was about to say Snake Plissken, but
that would also work.
It's also the same thing, yeah.
He looks a bit like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Going all Revenant.
Before he gets mauled by a bear. Yeah.
Or not that's the one. The one who's mauled by a bear.
Yeah.
Before he climbed inside a horse.
Are you not thinking of Luke Skywalker and a Tauntaun? Yeah.
He does.
If you say so. This is probably my favorite pack. Then.
Yeah. So you got your crazy old prospectors and stuff, which is great. There's the giant, which is actually a giant in terms of miniatures form. So he like sits quite nicely alongside the range.
Getting him, 100% getting him.
Yeah. He totally looks like the giant from flipping Bond movies. That's what he looks like.
There's a reason for that.
That's because it is him.
Same man.
Yes. Yeah. And then there's also the Bush Ranger, which has been done as their version of Ned Kelly as well. Yep. So if you want to drop in and kick some ass as Ned Kelly, you can have some fun there.
All armored up as well.
Laughs and body armor.
It's a way of doing it. It's a spectacular set of figures as well.
Is the old prospector, is that the guy from Toy Story?
I mean,
looks a bit like the old guy from Toy Story.
I mean, you're, in some respects, you're not wrong. Because technically, yes. Prospector. Yeah. At the same time, probably not. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. It's that, oh, God. Not Bronson. I know the actor. I just can't remember his name. It's killing me now. Absolutely killing me.
Someone will tell you in the comments.
Oh, God, yeah.
He does look like an actor, yeah.
Yeah, by the time you fire it in the comments, I'll have worked it out anyway, though. It's just gonna irritate me until then.
A great selection of new miniatures for Gunfighters Ball, building on what we've seen previously in Indies of the Week and that kind of thing as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, make sure you go and check out the link for that and stuff. Actually, I'll put that in the description below so you can go and check out some of our past Indies. There we go.
Too nice to people. Absolutely.
If Ben remembers to do it.
Well, that's true. I mean, why should you, though? Why should you? What thanks do you get, Ben, for doing all this for people?
Nothing.
That's it, peeps. If there's something missing from the description, give that man some grief.
Oh, dear Lord.
Dear. Right.
Can't bring them anywhere. Right. Masters of the Universe. Battleground.
Yeah, so this is the game from the folks at Archon. Now, I should say before we begin and dive into this, if you're over somewhere in the States or anywhere else in the world, essentially, other than Europe, you can't get a hold of these things unless you have some nice friends. So just be aware of that before you get too excited and all that kind of stuff. But the Master of the Universe is going through its wave 4 of its releases, which is kind of crazy for this game, where you dive in and you either play as the heroes and villains or a mix of the two, battling it out on that sort of hex grid board that they've got there for control of Eternia. In this one, they are focusing on the power of the evil horde, where Hordak has been freed from his dimensional prison, where he did some favors for an alchemist somewhere. And no one said exactly what he did, but there we go. And he's been let loose back into the realm of Eternia alongside some of his followers, including Grislaw and Shadow Weaver and Catra, because this is the naming conventions of the of old TV.
Well, does exactly what it says in the tin, doesn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Alongside a host of the Horde Troopers and Horde Wraiths. So this is a little bit of a departure from what we've previously seen for Masters of the Universe, where it's tended to mostly be based around just the big characters, whereas this one we're getting a couple of additional troops and all that kind of stuff as well. And you can dive in and have some fun with some new villains that are surely going to make He-Man and his friends' job a little bit harder. Until he says, I have the power of Grayskull and kills everybody. But there we go. So,
well, he does do that. That is true.
Yeah.
It's an interesting little set as well.
I love that they've just gone all in.
Yeah.
We're not going to try and update these to kind of match like a modern aesthetic or anything. They're just going, we're going to make these look like the toys. Which I think is amazing for people.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they've gone, well, this one, it can be this one self-contained Hordak and his forces, because if you've already got the game, we don't need to throw in duplicate. So often you see expansions, it's like, here's your 14th He-Man sculpt.
Exactly.
You go, I don't need none, for the love of God, please stop it.
Do they sell these separate, or do you have to buy them as packs?
You have to buy them as the pack, yeah. So, but obviously, if you're going to dive in and play the game, it comes with like additional rules and elements and that kind of stuff as well.
I'm interested in Slinky there. Oh no, she's not called Slinky. What do you call her? Shadow Weaver.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Freudian slip there, Slinky.
But yeah, so some great. We can't take. Honestly, we can't.
We can't take him anywhere. Yeah. Somebody needs to take his donut away.
Yeah. Well, we also have this online exclusive miniature that's also going to be available at trade shows this year, which is Hordak on the back of his Mantisaur, which is definitely a toy that was broken immediately by whoever bought it when they were younger.
Yep.
When you play with those arms, they are destined to fly off. So I just love the idea of him.
Just
the little
pulling
arms on the front. It's so funny. But apparently, in the background to this, because there's definitely background, the Mantisaur tore its way through most of Hordak's troops until, with the aid of one of his companions, they were able to tame the beast, and now it is the mount for Hordak as it rides across Eternia, looking really weird.
It's about as terrifying looking as a pug.
Exactly.
Oh, you think it has real difficulty breathing as well? How it defeats most of its enemies. Just sits there blowing bubbles of snot.
I also want to point out, because I'm getting the old school toy nostalgia hit as well, is that Hordak's gun is really crying out for someone to sculpt a little red missile in it.
Yes.
And a little spring activation button.
That would be very cool.
Needs that.
Oh, that gets pinged across the place. That is just so ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. So that's going to be and it comes with rules and everything inside there as well for you to use it in your games of
sure. Why would it not?
Because of course,
at the very least, you could just put it on your table and just move it around. Just tell your own stories.
Yeah,
I could use the rules, but it's He-Man toys.
Why not? Yeah. So yeah, as I say, wave 4 of the releases from Archon for this. If you want to go and get your hands on the rest of all of the goodies, they have reissued or sort of redone the starter set so that it's back out in the wild again, because they kind of ran out of the original starter set and that kind of thing. So that's back in the market alongside all of the previous expansions and everything as well. So if you want to get your He-Man and stuff, you can still go back and get your traditional heroes and all that kind of good stuff too, as well as the crazy new bits and pieces for the power of the evil horde. Yeah.
Joke's on you, He-Man.
You boob.
Right. Not entirely certain why Skeletor / Hordak is a 1920s gangster.
Meh.
See? Get you a Grayskull too. Yeah.
Oh God.
Right.
I was
Back to
doing
Warlord Games.
I was doing that voice throughout an entire game of Machikuro early this week, which is just a like a card drafting game. And I was like, I'm going to build my own tuna boats. Yeah, you boob. I'll get you next time. Oh dear.
Oh, the donut madness is spreading. Right.
Yeah, it really is.
Warlord Games has also
God.
announced
Yes.
epic
Mm.
hike and shot.
This is going to be pretty big for a lot of people, and I think,
I think
a
so.
whole host of
Or
folks.
pretty small.
Or pretty small. So this is Pike and Shot Epic Battles, which is going to be coming out as a sort of a continuation to what they've done in the past with Waterloo, which was their Napoleonic stuff, and then they did the American Civil War set as well for Black Powder. But this one sort of steps into the breach to cover both the English Civil War and the 30 Years' War and everything else in between, pretty much, that happened during that sort of 17th century period.
1,300 soldiers.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was waiting for you to point out the
Yeah.
red
What
set.
What the smeg? Who? What?
So
Jeez.
this is the starter set called Push of Pike, which makes sense. You know, there's pikes and you push people around.
Is that it? Is that the whole set?
That's the
Yep.
starter set, yeah.
That's the starter set.
That's the starter set, yes. So it comes with enough troops on either side for you to either make the Royalists and the Parliamentarians or the warring forces of Europe during the 30 Years' War. Essentially, all of their kit is mostly the same in many regards. You just need to probably change up a couple of colors here and there. They have included flags for everything.
Flags.
So depending on the different nation you want to play, you can build that up, which is quite nice. And the breakdown of this comes into it with a set of different characters for both sides, alongside cavalry and infantry sets that have been put together. You also get the scenery that you see at the back. So you get the sort of manor house that you can fight over, which probably belonged to some poor landowner who's like, I don't really want to be involved, but all my sons have gone to war. And so they're now fighting over their inheritance, probably.
Also, your wine cellars are ours now.
Yes, your wine cellars are ours. And this is now your drawing room is now our battlefield HQ.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah. But the set comes with, as I said, it's exactly 1,288 figures spread out across the different units. You also get 12 off.
Wait, how many?
1,288 figures.
Yeah.
There we go.
What brings it to 1,300 then?
That's because there's also a set of 12 artillery pieces. So then get it to 1,300. God, you're such an American. 1,300, 1,300. Jesus Christ. This is also this is in there. If you haven't already twigged it, this is in a smaller scale. This is in there 13.5. I think is the most accurate depiction of terms of scale and everything.
What's that from? Foot to eyes.
Yes. I guess someone measured it. I didn't do it. I just said 15 mil and then everyone corrected me. So, whatever. But yeah, proprietary
13.5. That's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
We're not getting into skill talk this week.
No. Yes. But anyway, so as well as the different troops, you also get an A5 rulebook in there, which allows you to get started with the game. And both of the different armies in there are kind of done in different colored sprues. So if you don't want to get painting straight away, you can just play with them as they are in their plastic if you really want to. So
how much is this box set?
It is. I'm going to click on it because I don't know if the pre-orders are live. Well, they are, but I can't tell you what they are because I can't see it because of time.
No.
As far as we know, it looks to be similar to Gettysburg. So if you're thinking like 110-ish.
Yeah.
Would you
ever
ever
far off.
actually buy anything else after this box set, though? Will you just buy this box set and call it done?
Well, it is pretty much essentially a battle in a box, really, and more. But if you do want more, they are actually going to be doing some additional sets.
More?
So as they have done with their previous box sets for Waterloo and the American Civil War, you can also buy infantry battalion sets. So you've got ones for the English Civil War, and you've also got ones for the 30 Years' War at the same time as well. Again, they come with all the different banners and flags that you'd need for kind of mixing and matching it to match what you need essentially to play the game. So you've got your pikemen, and you've also got your muskets and everything in there as well, which is kind of cool for both of those. And on top of that, you've also got the cavalry options, which again cover the two different sort of theatres of war for the English Civil War and the 30 Years' War. God, I've said war quite a lot in this.
A lot of war going on there. As far as I can tell, I don't think there's anything different between any of the boxes, bar the flags.
Bar the flags, yes.
Yeah.
So included in the cavalry ones. So in the infantry ones, you've obviously got your rank and file stuff that you'll need for playing. So pikes and shot. But then in the cavalry expansion, you get all the additional sort of gubbins that you need to kind of make it a little bit more flavorful. So you get the harquebusiers, the cuirassiers. I can never say the cuirassiers. Cuirassier. There we go. Cornets, dragoons. I can say dragoons. That's easy. The commanded shot, the Saka medium guns, and the Falconet light guns as well. There's also 3 battalion commanders and ensigns at the same time as well. So if you want to try and get those characters into the mix, you can do. Or, well, actually, because of what we've seen in the past from Warlord Games, I would imagine they're going to do actual named character sets that'll come with the likes of Cromwell and that kind of thing as well. So look out for those in the near future, I would guess. Oh, God. Yes, a lot of plastic for you to get stuck into that looks very, very nice indeed. And I think people are going to have a lot of fun with this one. I think more than the stuff with the American Civil War and Waterloo, I've seen a lot of people going, I quite like the English Civil War, but I've never had the sort of guts to dive in. This might be the way to go.
Nah, balls to that. Definitely doing European wars.
Go all
Civil War. Gee whiz.
Push out the line of the North. Have the Swedes kicking around the place.
But what I want to play with the Roundheads and the Royalists. I'm going to play the English Civil War. Damn you!
A more civilized war for a more civilized age.
Exactly. Yes. But in addition to the miniatures in plastic, there's also going to be a couple of scenery packs, which I think just look great. So these are going to be sort of MDF sets. So you've got the Thatched Hamlet scenery pack, and you've also got the one that Jerry was just showing before there as well, which is the village scenery pack. So, you know, pick up a couple of these, like you pick up a penguin, and set up a fun little settlement on the tabletop. And you too can run around raiding wine cellars, as John says.
In 13.5 scale.
In 13.5 now.
That's all you need to be doing in this era, is just pillaging wine cellars.
Exactly. Every objective is, how many wine cellars have you ransacked?
If my army isn't drunk off its face at night, it's not happy.
Exactly.
There's how you can tell how drunk they are.
One glass, 2 glass, 3.
4 glass.
The whole bottle.
Yeah.
What do you think of this, Jerry? I mean, is this more exciting than the Wufan stuff, or is the Wufan stuff still exciting because it's all pre-colored?
I really like the Wufan stuff because it's all pre-colored. I don't do anything. Don't even have to think. It's great. Just push them out and away you go. It's certainly very nice. Not sure about these counters, mind you. Would I have killed them just to put a dial in? Do I need 150 separate ones?
Oh, it's not a dial. I have to throw different ones down.
You have to put different ones down.
Well, not numbers, but paint on top of the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just cut them off. They're already working with Sarissa to do the villages. Just ask Sarissa to do a dial.
A little MDF dial.
And then they can just stick it onto the bottom. Glue this on the top, bish, bash, bosh, ole, ole, away you go. But yeah, it's a gorgeous set of stuff.
I've always been tempted by English Civil War, and I've always thought about doing it in kind of skirmish, because I didn't really want to play, you know.
Well, this ain't skirmish for sure.
Well, no, but because of the smaller scale for this, I think this could be really enticing to dive into and have.
Just buy this and individually base every man.
Yes.
That's one issue with individually basing every man. Those are plastic strips, so you have to cut them all apart and then fix the damage you've done to all their arms.
I'll solve that. No.
Hey, at least that means you don't have to paint their sides. They're all stuck together. That's awesome.
Yeah. Just push a strip and away you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice. Still baffled that we haven't seen Hail Caesar. They seem to be doubling down on everything black powder.
I think they're trying to work out how big to go with Hail Caesar. Because as someone pointed out in the comments, with these, you've essentially got a lot of stuff that's very similar. And the same could be said about Waterloo, although they very much focused in very much on Waterloo with that set, didn't they? And then the American Civil War again.
American Civil War, the figures work for both sides, more or less.
Whereas with Ancients, if you've got, you could pick up the Push of Pike set and you could just make all of those models into your parliamentarian force if you wanted to, rather than splitting them between the royalists and stuff.
Yeah.
Clearly, though, they should be going 11.7.
You think 13.5's poser scale?
11.7. On the plus side, I don't think anybody has any 11.7, so that's good for them.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
With
scales creep.
They should just call this W scale for Warlord.
Warlord scale.
Warlord rando scale.
Don't add new scales. Don't encourage them. Don't double down. You stop that.
As I was saying, though, if you did do ancients, you'd have to do Romans, and then Gauls are very different, and Greeks are very different again. So you'd have to think about it. But if this sells well enough and they make enough money off this kind of stuff, I think there's no reason why we wouldn't see epic battles.
I'm fairly certain somebody told me that Hail Caesar was coming.
Epic. What about epic battles World War II?
Because nobody stands in rank and file. That's why.
Epic battles World War One.
Because they still didn't even stand in rank and file.
But they did walk slowly towards the enemy.
Yeah, epic battles.
That's true.
Victorian Wars.
No. That could well be coming at some point. Because let's face it, they've gone through every Black Powder book supplement they've made, with the exception of the Zulu War. And then you could do your Santwana.
I've just worked out what they're going to do. They're going to do Hail Caesar, but they're going to do the Dark Ages, because essentially Saxons and Vikings wear the same stuff, right? There we go. Boom.
Because they're going to be shield walling it all the way.
Battle of Hastings. Boom. That's going to be the set.
Yeah,
you've heard it here first.
It'll be
in 12.4 mil.
It'll be interesting to see what else they do then beyond the core boxes that they have. So the plastic cav, the plastic infantry, because obviously they've done CO Cast or Warlord Resin or whatever you want to call it, metal for others.
I think we'll see the personalities packs coming out for the different factions, so you can get different characters. I think because they've done that for the other ones, and I think we'll see maybe a few more of the specialist troops that might fit into the period, perhaps as well. Whatever they might be, but they've done
Hussars.
There you go. Winged Lancers.
That's the ones.
So
Winged Hussars. Cool. Chuck them in there. Storm down a hill. Stab people up. It's all good.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff from Walad. Right.
Doing the Lord's work.
It is time for our mandatory Games Workshop news.
A few sort of additional releases coming out for the Astra Militarum this weekend that you'll be able to pre-order and stuff like that. So there's going to be the new Combat Patrol, which is essentially the miniatures that were out, more or less.
The launch box. It's the launch box content.
Yeah. So it's the launch box contents that have come out again in the Combat Patrol set that you can see there. So that comes with the combat squad, the sort of guardsmen, the big gun batteries, and you get the new version of the Sentinel in there. There's also additional character miniatures. So you get the Cadian Castellan, which will be one of your command figures you can use in the game. There's a couple of additional components in there as well for the set to make him more unique. Not more unique, to make him unique.
Combat Patrol.
Optional.
What was that? Sorry,
not in the Combat Patrol.
He's not in the Combat Patrol. No, he's separate.
You're talking like he was in the Combat Patrol.
Oh right, he's separate. He's separate from
yes,
that.
He is.
Yes, yeah. You only get the command squad in the Combat Patrol set. But yeah, as well as the Castellan, you've also got the Commissar. I'm not a fan of this model. I prefer the old ones.
He's very square.
He is. Yes,
all of them is square.
They recently brought a load of the old Commissar models onto
made to order.
Made to order, so I got Severina Rain because she actually looks like a decent character rather than red square parade statue.
Yeah, I'm not. I think he's too static. He
looks very familiar. Crichton. Look at those cheekbones.
It's the cheekbones that do.
He's Crichton from Red Dwarf. Everything is an angle.
Yeah, just take the hat off and make him into an actual. Give him a proper Crichton head.
Yeah.
And away you go.
Yeah, it's fine that down.
Yeah.
Paint him white. And he looks like a butcher.
Big butcher's apron.
Sending you his sausages on a Sunday morning.
Blue and white stripes. It's Nostradamus.
You've also got the Atalan Rough Riders who are charging into the mix. So this is going to be the first time you can get that set with their sort of their lances. Don't let anybody tell you that horses can't survive in the grim dark future. They come with either the melter tips or the frag tips, so you can either blow up infantry or vehicles, whichever you prefer. If you blow up the vehicles, make sure to look for that big hole underneath. And
I hate painting horses, but I might be tempted.
Look at it's because they're half covered in horse dresses, so you're not actually painting a horse.
Horse curtains. For
That's even worse. That's like painting capes and horses at the same time.
And capping things off, we've also got the Cadian upgrades as well. So you can get this, and it comes with a whole bunch of additional heads, arms, weapons, accessories, and everything else that you might need for building up your Cadian forces on the
I thought
tabletop.
this one was holding a cigar or knocking a cigarette.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. No, I don't think it is.
What is it then? What is the little
I've
thing?
no idea.
It's fiddling with a button. I don't know. I like that you get the variety of male and female heads in the set. I think that's really nice, and allows you to make some more specialists. It's particularly good. I think this will be for if you're making like a kill team or something. You can play around to make your troops look unique and stuff on the tabletop. I like the grave marker as well. That's quite nice if you're going to be building an objective set. I also really like the engineer stuff. So you've got your sappers and things with your axes and spanners and things. So as they're diving,
jerry cans everywhere.
Jerry cans everywhere.
And you just buy this product separately. This is just a separate sprue that you buy.
You can
Just
just
an
buy this
upgrade
separate
sprue,
sprue and just whack it in with what you've already got, and away you go. There's even a tank commander there as well. So play around with that and have fun.
Not bad.
Yeah. Some cool stuff. There's also randomly a couple of additional things. So there's the Aegis defense line. So if you want to keep your forces
God.
of humanity safe, put them behind one of those.
I hate the Aegis defense line.
It does look a bit dumb.
Mandatory in every army. Is it still mandatory in every army?
Why is it so spiky?
I've no idea.
Because someone's going to run against it, I guess.
It's the same reason you put broken bottles across the top of your wall. It's to stop kids climbing over it.
Suppose.
The Astra Militarum are the grumpy old men of the.
You say grumpy old man, I say there's no kids in my garden. Just saying.
And then capping things else off as well, because it's been the Black Library celebration for.
Is it a Primaris Lieutenant?
It's Captain Messinius, who is one of the White Consuls from the Dawn of Fire series. So if you like that book series and you want to pick up this model and add it to your collection, you can do that as well.
It's very high ranking for a Primaris Lieutenant.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's doing the Emperor's work. But yeah, so Astra Militarum, they're getting a little bit of an upgrade this week with some new kits and bits and bobs, all available for pre-order this weekend.
Support your local store.
Yeah, and you get candy when you get your box.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool.
I don't. I don't get candy. What candy are you getting?
Shay gave me even more candy last time I ordered.
Outrageous. Absolute outrageous. I got a cheeky note in a tiny magnifying glass with a thing saying, for your old eyes, you can use this. That's what I got last time I got something stored on tabletop. I got abuse. Right, enough of that. We're going to take a quick switch, and when we come back, we'll be rounding out the show with some 3D printing and a couple of Kickstarters. Okay, we're back, and we're going to be having a look at some 3D printing from Terrainify.
Terrainify, yeah. So this was one that I kind of just stumbled on as I was looking through the tribes section of my mini factory. And the reason why that I wanted to kind of highlight this one is that I think people have become particularly obsessed with 3D printing creators providing folks with endless monsters and miniatures and characters and troops and vehicles and all that kind of things. And that's great. It's nice to have these options out there, as we've discussed in previous shows, to have ways for you to dive into games and have a little fun with them and, you know, add to things that you already own with sort of bespoke models for your force. But one of the things that I think 3D printing is absolutely great for is terrain. And Terrainify are one of those creators that's been doing it for a little while now and have been producing a whole host of fascinating and interesting pieces that would be great for fantasy and all sorts of different other things that you're diving into, and filling in the gaps in that part of the hobby that I think a lot of us tend to step away from. Like, I think a lot of us build big armies and, and love painting up their models, but not very many of us actually sort of take that step to making their own terrain. And having something like this where you can print out big pieces to sort of, create statement tabletops, I think is something that a lot more people should have a look at. And Terrainify do a very nice section of different bits and pieces in order for you to do that. I think it's quite nice. As you've been seeing there from some of the photos, They do big ruin structures, rocky outcrops, withered, evil, dark, folklore style forest, which I think is quite nice as well. And they do all sorts of in-between bits and everything too. So you've got lots of different sort of elements that you wouldn't necessarily think of when it came to tabletops, but when you look at their site, you're like, oh, that'd be cool. Let's just print that off, stick it down on the tabletop, and suddenly you've got something that works immediately as a scenario objective or something like that. And I think that's definitely one of the strengths of what they create. The other side of things, this I think is quite nice, is that like if you're printing out your models and all that kind of stuff, you need to have like the best quality with those, because you don't want to see the stepping and the marks and all that kind of things like that. With terrain, you can be rough with this stuff and you can sort of, play around with it after it's come out of the 3D printer and sort of break things down and play around with things. If it does look a little bit, quirky in places, or if it printed wrong, suddenly that can become like a unique feature for your piece, which I think is quite a nice way of approaching things. If a bit of a wall section doesn't print particularly well, chop and, hack at it and twist it or turn it into like a break in the wall or something like that. And
just stick a bush over it.
Stick a bush over it.
I really like these.
Yeah, so.
These are very
the
Krull-like.
Yeah. Yes. They've done quite a few sets of those, of like strange mystical energies and warp things that sort of float around the tabletop, which is quite cool. But yeah, it's a lot of really nice stuff that's been broken down into different sections as well. So you have stuff that would be good for sort of demonic tabletops, stuff that would be good for your classic fantasy, underground locations, rocky highlands, ruined cities and everything else in between, really. And
rain and hell terrain.
Rain in hell terrain.
Very good for that.
Yeah.
You too can crawl across a pustule-based hill or hide in the pus forest.
Yes.
Or get up and run through the pus lakes. I'm just saying. Pus.
Anything with the word pus attached to it is the way to go. Yeah.
It's good. It's good times. Yeah.
Yeah. I was drawn. I really liked the larger pieces that did things like the. Oh, there you go. There's the sort of twisty, ethereal stuff that they've done for Warhammer Underworlds, which is really cool. And all the other bits and pieces like that. But yeah, I liked the larger things because I thought like the Dragon's Perch was really cool if you have big monsters on it and things like that. But stuff like this, as well as it being useful for playing out, being useful in games like Warhammer Underworlds, I think this kind of stuff would be really nice for dungeon delvers, because you could suddenly, instead of having like the dungeon lit by torches and lamps and things, imagine if everything was just these ethereal misty creatures, or like the last vestiges of magic that are sort of flickering around the inside of your dungeon and keeping it lit after eons have already passed and the mages that cast those spells are long dead. Maybe they're part of their arcane signature is still there in the surroundings around you. Man, I went into full Dungeon Master mode.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, using lots of big words. That's the way to go.
so that makes sense. So these are all for Warhammer Underworlds then.
If anybody's wondering, Jerry's having his hips replaced.
It's only a matter of time. So that explains the hexy bases.
That's why you got the hex bases and things on as well. Yeah, which is really nice. If you go to I think it's the last page of their selections, you'll see some of the stuff that they've have done in the past and things. Although obviously some of their big monstrous sort of volcanic stuff is kind of badass. But yeah, it's the rubble stuff that I really like. It's these kind of incidental things that you'd use for building up stuff like Frostgrave and all that kind of thing. That's really nice. And their trees as well. I love their trees. Oh. You've also go back up, Jerry.
Oh my lord, there's some stuff there, isn't there?
Yeah, go back up, Jerry. Go back up. Go back up. Keep going. There's a really cool like arcane henge. Keep going. There it is. The henge.
Oh, I've already opened the henge.
Oh, cool, fantastic. Then, brilliant. We can have a look at it. But yeah, I think as I say, there's not much more I can say really. They've done a really nice job on creating some fascinating terrain that could be used for a whole host of different tabletops. Really. So yeah, very nice. Brilliant.
Cool. Could put that slinky lady in there.
I was thinking, the rune golem from that game that didn't last from
Rune Wars
games. Rune Wars, yeah. Imagine the rune golem stepping out of that. That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
I would, but my 12 are multi-based for Kings of War to use as Arcade medals. They're not fitting through that.
I was thinking
that'd be a very big henge.
I think that'd be quite nice for sort of War Machine as well. You could see like a kind of Hordes vibe going on with those, with the troll bloods and stuff. Yeah, it'd be quite cool.
Do you know what this could be good for? Confrontation.
It would actually, yeah. It'd be very good for that, yeah.
Let's call it again Confrontation Revisited, or what's the new one?
Continuum.
Continuum.
It's one of those words about things going on forever. Yeah. Confrontation repeated.
Confrontation again.
Yeah. Confrontation again. Confrontation electric boogaloo.
It hasn't gone away, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, stunning pieces that I think are well worth having a look at. And as I said, like a lot of people have been moving into the idea of just printing off entire armies with their resin and things. Have a think about terrain, because if you're not interested in the idea of scratch building stuff, or if you can't get a hold of the materials you need to do the scratch building, getting the 3D printer out and printing out some big pieces of terrain and just going at it with weathering materials and just slapping paint on can create some fascinating tabletops very, very quickly.
So how many days are we talking about to print big terrain? That's the question.
John, expert, tell us.
It's like I was in the studio last week, John, and you were printing something, and you turned around to me and said that'll be 4 days to print that, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing though, because I'm printing for accuracy, whereas you could for this sort of stuff you could lower the layer height, you could make it the layers a bit thicker. Yeah. You're going to get the lines, but you're, as Ben's been alluding to, you can just sort of go at it with weathering and all that sort of stuff. And
what if I didn't want the lines then, John? Or as little as possible lines wise?
That red rock is probably about, I would guess, about maybe 6 inches tall. So you're probably looking at about maybe a 3-day print on an FDM machine and about 17 to 18 hours. Actually, maybe just over 20 hours in a resin bath.
What are we looking at here? Is this pre-printed stuff?
Yeah. So
they have their own website
as well.
Yeah. Because I was noting the price going, that can't be STLs.
Physical,
very, very pricey STL. Yeah.
But also painted and finished as well.
That's his left leg off now.
It's the longest Formula 1 pit stop I've ever seen.
But yeah, I think it's definitely worth having a look at this, because especially even if you picked up something like this, or you did some of your 3D printing at home and then maybe looked at some of the pre-colored stuff that comes from the likes of Monster Fight Club, I think you could set up some tabletop really quickly with some really nice looking stuff very, 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 very easily. So there we go. Cool.
Right. That just leaves us with our Kickstarters then.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 2.
Oh, yes.
The first of which we already had a little bit of chat about.
We did.
The Brokety Weave.
Yeah, so last week you will have hopefully seen our interview with Cubical 7 with Elaine and Emmett, where we talked about Broken Weave, which is their new post-apocalyptic, as it says there, tragic fantasy setting that's been designed for 5th edition, 5e, and uses the D20 system. Although, should say straight away, it's also going to be compatible with their C7 D20 system, which is essentially very similar to what we've seen from 5th edition and things, coming out later this year as well.
I love the way that trailer started, magic is broken. Isn't that most games magic is broken?
This time it's broken in a different way, in a philosophical sense, I guess. Right. Rather than just in a Justin's playing the game sense. But yeah, so in this game, it's a little bit different from what you'd normally consider with D&D. You do play as heroes, but in some cases you're heroes that have been somewhat had your sort of adventures forced upon you, because the world is broken, magic is broken, there is no more sort of arcane power within the universe, and where it does exist, it is almost corrupted and destroys everything around it. And so humanity has found themselves, and as well as the other fantasy races, have found themselves in havens in sort of like strange warping landscapes where sometimes a journey might take you a day, suddenly a journey takes you 4 days, 5 days, an entire year. Time passes weirdly. Monsters have been twisted and changed so that they're not quite how you remember them. For example, there you've got a legally distinct owlbear that's not an owlbear, a hoot monster, as I like to call it, a hoot cub.
It had a lot of hooters on it, though. Did you see how many hooters it had?
I know, plenty of hooters. It is Hooters McGaw. But there we go. So anyway, we have and so you'll be diving into adventures where you're playing as these different heroes that have been sent out into the world around you to try and bring back things to keep your haven safe, collecting resources, exploring strange ruins, crafting rules have been built into the game. They've used the journey mechanics from Uncharted Journeys, which was their previous Kickstarter, and they've also did in the Adventures in Middle-earth book and everything like that. So you've got lots of interesting things in there for kind of adding to that element of the game. They've developed a new set of classes, which are kind of twists on previous ones. So you have people like the Warden, who is like a little bit of a paladin, like a little bit of a fighter, but obviously because there's no magic in there, it kind of like goes on this route of just being this like cobbled together warrior who's managed to carry around swords and equipment and stuff that belong to their father's mother's father or something. And so that's kind of like their equipment. Having steel is a big thing in this world. Having access to metal is wild and is like a treasured item in of itself. But then you've also got other characters like the sages and stuff who kind of have remembered everything from the eons past and have written it all down in books and that kind of stuff. On top of that, there's also, as I mentioned, sort of like this sort of twisted beasts and things. So there's a kind of set of rules in the game they've done for twisting existing D&D monsters. So you take something like an owlbear, and then you apply like a new template to it to sort of create a broken version of that creature, and that can be thrown into your games and that kind of stuff as well. As you can see there too, over time, the people that's weird. So you think that's a normal looking bird, by the way? That's a bird that's like the size of a person and is eating eyes, which is crazy. But yeah. But anyway, you've also got those decayed versions of characters, because as you spend time further and further away from your haven, the world around you starts to decay you, and as you start to lose a sense of yourself, you become like these creatures. So the dwarves become these big molten fiery creatures, humans become this kind of ghoulish entities, halflings are just ooze, as if essentially all the gravy in their bodies has leaked out of their pores. And then you have the elves, who are these big almost crystal masses, which I think is fascinating. So again, it sort of plays on the idea of it being like D&D, but a D&D where everything is slightly twisted and shifted, very uncanny. One of the things that Elaine and Emmett said is that this would be perfect for almost playing like a future version of a campaign you've done in the past. So say you played out some D&D campaigns and you created a world for it. Well, now set your new games of Broken Weave in that world, maybe 10,000 years later, where magic has shattered and broken. And so you see remnants of what used to be within the kingdoms. And then sort of like your characters have to go out and explore the stories and things that have been told about this new place that you're sort of exploring as well. So yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I am fully on board with it. And
Spider stag.
Else, pardon, sorry?
Spider stags freaking me out.
Spider, yes, it's almost like a leash. Yeah. If nothing else, I think the artwork is terrific for this. They have been working very, very hard with a bunch of artists and concept designers and things like that to create some fascinating and interesting locations and creatures and classes and everything else. And I think this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be very interested in. If nothing else, because I think it puts a really nice, unique twist on D&D. I think a lot of people play D&D and they approach it from the sense of it just being like a murder hobo simulator where you dive in and you just kill countless amounts of monsters and, you know, bring back loot and everything. I'm looking at you, Warren. But with this, there's more of a focus on the idea of exploration and understanding and philosophy and, you know, building the settlement up and inter-character relationships and that kind of thing. And I think that's going to be really fun for people to dive into and tinker with those core mechanics of that D20 system, the 5e system, in a different way and seeing how they interpret it. And yeah, I think it's very cool. Oh, I'm so excited,
especially when you've got the intergenerational stuff as well.
Yes,
because, you know, when your character is going to forget everything.
As Jerry will know in a minute once he drills his own brain.
Being able to just pass your legacy on to your descendants and keep going with the storyline in your haven, going generation after generation.
Oh, it's so cool. I just love that idea of you playing some characters out for like a couple of sessions and then something happens and then your next session is 200 years later and you come back as the kids of those characters or something and see where things change and stuff. It's a really fun idea, and a lot of the things that make the game unique are available as like add-ons and things. So you have things like the Breaking Monsters deck, where a dungeon master or a GM would take, say, the template for one of those creatures that we talked about, say like a hobgoblin or something, and then you just draw 2 cards and it adds those 2 things onto their monster template. So suddenly it's a hobgoblin now that has 6 legs, 2 heads, and belches gas out of its mouth or something. Something really awesome. So yeah, very cool. Ooh.
Sweet.
Sweet indeed. 13 days left on Broken Weave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then our final Kickstarter for this week is Akroma.
Yeah, so Akroma comes from the folks at Realm Runner Studios. This is a card game that's been out actually since last year, but this is a chance for you to dive in and pick up everything that's come out from the first iteration of the game, and get your hands on the card game, as well as dive into things like the role-playing game and the they've got like an app-based adventure game as well, which I think is quite fun. Akroma, I've played it. I've had some hands-on with it. It's been very cool. It's set across 4 realms, 5 if you count our own. And in that, you will pick up a deck of cards that's about 30 cards big for sort of most games, although you can go up to 40 with a different game mode. And I'm no word of a lie, games can take from as little as 10 minutes up to about half an hour. So not very long at all, really. When you sit down to play the game, you'll have your deck of cards, you'll shuffle it up, blah, 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 blah. The aim of the game is to either get to 30 shards, which is like 30 life points essentially, or reduce your opponent down to 0. In the center of each card, you'll see the little number there and also the little colored segments. That explains how many shards you need to play in order to put those characters into play. So yes, your life, essentially the thing you need to achieve victory, is also the resource you're going to be spending to put cards onto the tabletop. You also see that there's things like +2 and stuff on these character cards. That's how many shards you'll gain at the end of a turn, as long as your characters have survived and they've not been killed by your opponents and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, all the different cards have lots of other abilities that sort of filter into each other and allow you to create really interesting combos and all that kind of stuff on the tabletop. As I said, there are 4 different sort of realms, and across those different realms, you get different styles of deck. So, for example, you have Chroma, and then you have Akroma. So if you click on that, the dragon one there, Jerry, and just bring that up, you'll see these are 2 very different decks. So on the one side, you have the Akroma, which is led by Tenebris there, which is that really fun dragon character. A lovely artwork in this game, by the way, as well. And that's a deck that's very much focused on siphoning away shards from your opponent and adding them to your own pool, as well as just taking them away from your opponent. And on the other side, you've got the Chroma deck, which is led by Ignis there, which is all about gathering up lots of shards throughout your game and things. So it's a really interesting sort of tug of war between the 2 players at the tabletop, where you're trying to make sure that you've got enough shards to keep playing out your cards onto the tabletop and build up this engine, but then you've also got to try and work out how much you can put into that before your opponent will be able to take advantage of it. So, for example, maybe you on your turn, you start with 10 shards, you put down 2 characters, suddenly you're down to 4. You know you're going to get 2 at the end of the game, but if your opponent can suddenly then get rid of 6 off you, you've immediately lost. And so you have to really play around with the margins in the game, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's why games take as little as like 10 minutes up to about half an hour. So they're very, very quick and easy to play out. I've played with all of the decks that you see there, alongside a couple of the other ones as well that someone showed me how to play with, and they were very fun to dive into. What? Sorry, what?
How have you played it?
Oh, well, a lovely friend of the channel called Charlie, who everybody knows, who used to work for Warlord Games.
My beloved.
And now works for War Games Atlantic, came and showed me how to play the game and stuff. So I sat down and had a couple of games with him. He kicked my ass quite a lot of times. So
nice.
As I say, there is kind of like an app attached to the game, so you don't have to play with the app. You can play with tokens if you want, but it's a free to download app that'll basically track the shards between you and your opponent, and it just makes things easier to sort of keep hold of, really, when you're diving into the game. Deck building is really fun and easy. It's very, very simple. You can take as many of like sort of blank white cards as you want, but then there is a limit of 2 on the sort of like more impressive cards, so you can't sort of overdo it, or 1 on some of them as well. As I say, there's another format, and they're also looking at additional ones that you can play with for organized play. The other really nice thing is that while this is essentially a two-player game, so a 1 versus 1. There's nothing to say that you can't play this game with like 4, 5, 6 people and go to like, sort of magic level with things. You play with big two-headed giant or anything like that. Because you just target other people around the tabletop and you just sort of take them out and then reduce enemies there. And then suddenly it comes down to like a 1v1 and stuff at the end. So it's been really well balanced so that you can play with multiplayer as well as just having it as a 1 versus 1. Experience.
It looks really well packaged from a collecting point of view.
Oh my god, yes. I mean, this is the first edition set, so if you really want to get your hands on these sort of stylized sets as you're seeing here, then you definitely want to go and check out the Kickstarter. The cards that you're seeing here are going to be available in the future with continuous sort of print runs and things, but they won't necessarily be packaged in the same way. But everything's been done in such a way that when you do get a pack of cards, everything works together. It's been kind of tutored and built so that it's playable straight out of the box. Or of course you could do the deck building and things like that if you want to as well. So yeah, very cool. Oh, I should also say you can deck build and stuff between a realm. So you can deck build within the Siege of Draco Temple or the Curse of Curdle Hill, but you can't mix the two. So you can't bring dragons into Curdle Hill or anything like that unless you go down certain routes potentially in the future and all that kind of thing, which is quite cool. So yeah. Definitely one that I think you should have a look at.
Is it based on a specific IP or have they built it all up? Because some of the posters there look very like that manga thing that the kids watch.
It's their own entire world that they've created. The artist is an artist who worked on League of Legends, so he's worked with computer games and stuff in the past, and so he's created this almost kind of Ghibli-esque world, which I think is quite nice. That sort of works really well. Across all the different realms, and even though there is such a difference in terms of characters and locations and monsters and creatures, I think having that one coherent art style between all of them is really nice, and I think it all sort of blends things together. As I was saying at the beginning, and Jerry's got it here, they're also working on a role-playing game, which works almost as much as a kind of lore guide as much as it does kind of a role-playing game in its own way. And there's sort of like an app game that you can dive into as well and have fun with later on down the line too. But yeah, they've got some big ambitions for where they want to take Akroma. But at its core, it's just a really fun little card game. Like I played 5-6 games this week, had a lot of fun with it, and it was really interesting seeing how the combinations come together.
This week? So this is pretty fresh in your mind then? Yeah.
So like when it comes to like card games, the base level is the card game fun. Like I wouldn't have thought that the My Little Pony card game was great, but then I sat down and played it in a local store, and it was freaking brilliant, and I love it, regardless of the fact that it's about My Little Pony.
You secret brony.
Only for about an hour and a half. That's as long as it's
part-time brony.
Part-time brony, yeah. But if a card game's mechanics are great, then it's definitely something you need to have a look at, and I would heartily recommend having a look at Akroma. The Learn to Play video is very simple and easy to watch. Go and give it a look and see what you think, because my garbled ramblings probably didn't do it justice, but there we go. So yeah.
Fantastic. 20 days left for Akroma. Interesting to see where that goes. And even the RPG sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Just cool. As, a background or like you say, lore guide, even if you're not planning on running it, just to get an idea of where the card games
just remembered as well. Oh my God. No, I'll keep them for the future.
Right. There you go. I think that wraps us up for this week. We'll be back on Sunday morning for the XLBS, where our cultists get to listen to us ramble and hopefully not listen to my neighbour drill through my wall. Otherwise, we shall be back next Friday for more of the same. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.